So welcome, welcome, welcome. I am super elated because y'all, guess what? We are back. We are back. We are back. We are back with our Pain in the Pews Mental Health and Ministry broadcast. And listen, what better way to start it back off than having an amazing guest? I can't think of a better way, can you? Nope. Can't think of a better way. Listen, I'm giving you time right now. Go ahead and hit that share button. Go ahead and tag a friend, a sister, a loved one. Go ahead and get someone on with you now that you know needs to hear this message. Because listen, we're all about helping, healing, and being life changers, right? And so in doing that, we want to do that by number one, by providing you with great content, by providing you with people who are our guests on here that can give you that can infuse you with what you need, and being led by the Spirit of the Lord that gives us who we need to have before us on these platforms that's going to help. And listen, tonight, I'm telling you, if you haven't already, I got my water. I'm gonna need you might need to grab some tissue. If you're like me, you might need to grab some tissue. It's not that you might need it, but I'm just saying. I'm trying to prepare you. I was never a Girl Scout, but I know that they were always prepared. But listen, I am elated to be back with you. This is our first night back since for 2 months, right? We took a little break, and now we are back, and we are back in full effect. You'll see us again in 2 weeks on May the 2nd. And listen, I'll give you more information about that in a little bit. But I want to dive into what we have to talk about tonight. And so in doing so, I want to introduce you to an amazing woman of faith and of power, resilience, strength. The adjectives to describe her could go on and on and on. But you'll see, I'd rather her experiences and what she has to share with you, I'd rather those speak for her rather than me try to give you the words to describe this beautiful woman. You can already tell, look at the smile, you can already tell something amazing is about to happen. You know, when they smile like that, they've got something good to share. It's like going to grandma's house and she's got something in her hand to share with you. That little smile when she grabs your hand, she slides something in your hand. So our guest today is about to slide something in your hand that you can hold on to. How about that? So I'm elated, ladies and gentlemen, to present to you Miss Lynn Meyer. Thank you, Lynn, for being with us.
Thank you for asking me to just come and just talk with you and to your audience. I'm so glad to be here. Thank you so much. I'm honored. I really appreciate you.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. So listen, I want to dive in because we're going to be talking about, oh goodness. So let me tell you now, ladies and gentlemen, because sometimes we have our men on here, so I want our brothers as well. Take a breath, and I mean that. Take a breath.
Literally.
Yes, take a breath, because we're going to be talking about trauma, sexual assault. So I want you to be aware, in case you have younger viewers who are with you, I want you to be aware that some of the content that will be shared may not be for our younger viewers, but you're the parent, you decide. But I want you to be aware and informed. And so what will be discussed today is going to be helpful, because what I have found out during this journey, I was just beginning to tell our guest Lynn a few moments ago, during this journey on Pain in the Pews, Mental Health and Ministry, I have come across a lot of women who have been down this journey of having been sexually assaulted as a youth, and they're still carrying that baggage with them. They're still carrying that weight with them. They're still carrying that hurt with them. They're still carrying that trauma with them. And why? Because no one told them that they didn't have to. So Lynn, tell us what you do. Tell us about Lynn Meyer and what she offers to that woman who's now a woman, but as a youth or as an adult experienced sexual assault.
So I like to start here. People like to know who they're talking to. So I'll just give you titles in the beginning because sometimes that's important to people.
Yes.
So I'm an author. I'm a CEO. I am a licensed professional counselor. I'm also a certified clinical trauma professional. I've been in the mental health field now for 21 years. And I became the person that I needed when I was a child. So I went into the counseling field because of that. Like I knew I needed support and I didn't know there was anyone I could talk to. So I became a counselor. I'm a mom of 5 children. I'm a wife. My husband and I have been married. I don't know. Our son is 18.
Get it.
He's more sentimental with that than me. But what I offer to women, because I do only work with women for now, but what I offer to women is a professional and a personal experience. So all that is my professional experience, but the personal is the fact that when you work and you talk with me, you're talking to someone that's not only compassionate, but I'm very empathic, sympathetic, simply because sexual abuse and domestic violence is part of my story. And I never thought I was going to be able to heal from that. And so I decided to become a coach for women that have dealt with sexual abuse and domestic violence, because a lot of people say, oh, I don't want to go to a counselor, even though I am that, but I will talk to a coach that helps me through, situations that have happened in my past, but currently affected me. And so that's what I do, like in a nutshell.
And interestingly enough, Lynn, okay, so you said a lot that I don't want to unpack it all because I've got stuff I want to ask you. But interestingly enough, so Pain in the Pews Mental Health and Ministry, right? That is the name of one of our initiatives. Our organization, Pain and Glory, has been around since 2005, but Pain in the Pews only started in 2014. It started with the initial event, Pain in the Pews, Domestic Abuse in the Church. That was the very first event that we had. And that event showed me a lot. It showed me that there was a need for this discussion.
Mm-hmm.
Because the place was I rented out a venue, and the venue I rented out was small because I'm like, nobody's really going to want to come to this, so I'm not going to rent out a large venue, but it was packed.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing I noticed was that, it's packed with women. And a lot of those women were women who were in the church, whether in serving in leadership or serving in some capacity in church. Mm-hmm. And then I noticed that a lot of them, much like what you said, didn't necessarily think that they wanted to go to a therapist, but did not mind speaking to another sister who experienced the same thing. Someone who understood, somebody who, yeah, she gets it. She know what I'm talking about. So I totally get that. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And so the thing of it is, I'm glad God put that on my heart, because this is truly an assignment. And I noticed I had to slow myself down because I talk very fast, but it's because I'm passionate about it. What I realized is that going back to counseling, when people think of counseling, they think of being crazy. And so trauma can make you feel crazy, absolutely, but you're not crazy. And so I just said, well, Lord, show me another way that I can work with these women. And he was just like, you will become an emotional healing coach. And I was like, oh, what is that? And he showed me what that was. And so here I am.
And here you are. And interestingly enough, I'm a purpose coach. And in doing that, I help women. One of the things that I do is, in being a purpose coach, is I help women to stop the self-sabotage and self-doubt. And a lot of that stems back to, as you already probably know, is not getting past things, maybe not trauma, and oftentimes it is. Mm-hmm. Often it is, but what stops you? What held you up? What made you say no to that opportunity? What made you shrink down? What made you think you weren't good enough? What made you feel like you had to put up a wall? And so we get to, before we get into how we can get to the bag, we get to why have you been avoiding all this other stuff in the first place? And why have you talked yourself out of what was yours in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah.
I like the fact of you talking directly to the issue of trauma.
Mm-hmm.
So a moment ago, you and I talked about an episode of a famous of a popular television show, and in that particular television show, they depicted one of the main characters being assaulted and attempted to be raped, attempted rape. And again, for my more sensitive viewers, I want you to know this is going to be sensitive content. So if you have younger viewers, or if this is a trigger for you, I want you to be aware of that. So in this particular episode, it was a 2-part episode. In this particular one, the main character, as I said, one of the main characters was assaulted, however, never physically raped, but attacked, physically harmed, but not sexually assaulted. And in the episode, I really like, even though it was a scripted show, I like how they showed the very real emotion that a person would go through
Mm-hmm.
in an instance like that. But one thing that the show pointed out, and I wanted to get your input on, is how they treated her. Though, and when I say they, the responding officials, the police responded, the male police,
Mm-hmm.
as well. He didn't actually perform the act, so we'll look into it. We'll look into it, but you really didn't, you fought back, got away, so
You should
but
be fine.
you should be fine. But in the show, it did show this character was truly traumatized. So in your practice, in coaching, and in your practice as a mental health professional, do you find that you encounter a lot of clients who are reluctant to even share their story because no one will believe them?
Yes. So the thing of it, when I talk to clients, there's something that God has gifted me, which is my voice. And I don't see me working with client as a counselor or as a coach as a job or a career. It truly is a ministry, and people get I don't know, some people get turned off by that. I really don't care, because that is my gift that he gave me. And so I say that because when you first start working with me, they may say, oh, I was referred by this person, and they told me, oh, you better watch out, because Lynn is very direct. And I am direct, but I'm very caring. I love what I do. So of course, I don't want you to stay in that unhealthy space or place. So when they come to me, they usually say, yeah, my mom, my whomever, a loved one, a friend, whatever, I didn't talk to them because they said I should get over it. They don't believe me because this happened, but this didn't happen. And so they're extremely reluctant. And it seems like after they say that to me, 9 times out of 10, it's, but I can talk to you. I feel so comfortable talking to you. You're the first person that believed me. Or when I share my story with you, I don't feel like I'm being judged. I've shared it with other people, and they're just like picking me apart, but you're actually listening to me. You're concerned. So that's what I get. So I do hear that from them, but when they talk to me, it's like total opposite of what they've experienced before they even started working with me.
Right. And you know what? That's a powerful thing. That is a calling. That is a gift. You can't be taught that. You can't read that in a book. You can't learn that from a professor. That is in you. And that's why God trusts you to be able to send these people to you.
Absolutely.
So one of the things, and we said this off camera, we know that talking about sexual assault and talking about abuse and molestation and all of these things that young women and young men experience, adults experience, we may talk about it a bit on the college campuses, but it's usually surrounding an event or something that's taking place. It's not an ongoing conversation. You may hear about it sometimes in high school, but again, it's surrounding an event or something that is taking place. not an ongoing conversation. But one place we don't hear about it, and it's certainly one of those, what goes on in this house stays in this house, is the church. We don't, and there are so many of our sisters and brothers that have come from a place of trauma, and the one place where it's you almost feel that you can't talk about it is in the church. And I think that this is my thinking, this is just my little, what goes on in this little curly head of mine. I think it actually dates back. It's not only just a cultural thing as far as Black or white, but if you think about the story of Tamar in the Bible, when her brother took advantage of her and sexually assaulted her, and instead of her father, the person who was responsible for protecting her, because she was a young sister. In the Bible, it says that Tamar was the younger sister, right? She had her brothers Abimelech and I can't think of the other brother's name. So she's got these two brothers. Her father, who was in charge of her protection and guarding her and raising her and teaching her and leading her, instead of taking that role in that instance, he sent her into exile. The Bible says that she was put into exile. She did nothing wrong. She did everything they asked her to do. She served him his meal. She did everything that was asked of her. And then when her half brother raped her, she was sent out and ostracized and put in exile. And so that was biblical times. Not a whole lot. I mean, you can change the characters and change, the narrative a little, but it's still the same thing. The people that you would think would protect you, as the example you gave a moment ago, loved ones, they may not believe, may not understand. And ones that you think would protect, not so much. And so I applaud you, my dear, for being that voice, that and even more so, that listening ear. Because sometimes people just want to be heard.
Yeah, that's it.
So tell us a little bit.
Validated. Yeah.
Validated. Tell us a bit more about tell us about this trauma coaching.
So I'm really excited about the trauma coaching. Let's give a little bit of a background for those that are just finding out about me or don't even know who Lynn Meyer is. So I was sexually molested by my biological father, and he started molesting me when I was probably like 1.5, and he did that for 7 years. And the reason why I know it was 7 years because then I started remembering my life in 3rd grade because I was 8 years old, and that happened. And I knew, like I said before, I knew there was a purpose on my life because in the beginning, I felt myself as like, why is this happening to me? And then as I got older, God showed me, yes, this was terrible. This was awful. This was very uncomfortable. But the experience happened to you, but it was one of the things that he was going to use in order for me to help these women. And once I realized that, I was like, it ain't about you, boo. Because I kept making it very like, I don't know, just all about me. But then once he showed me, yes, the experience happened, but it was for the good, for you to help other women, I really understood my purpose and the assignment. So the emotional coaching, like I said, I only work with women. Well, first of all, I work with women of color. I did not say that before, but I work with women of color. But I do this because of what you said before, there's a disconnect within relationships, intimacy, femininity, all of that. And I know because that was one of the things that impacted, well, those were the areas that impacted my life. And working with women, a lot of times they feel like, yes, there's something going on, but they really don't understand that trauma that hasn't been healed or worked on or dealt with, whatever word. I'm a language person, so I'm all about language and words. So whatever word works for you, use that. So if you haven't dealt with it, or if you haven't processed it, or you haven't healed or healing from it, things show up. But they come to me because they know there's areas, especially relationships and love life, that have been affected. And so I help them with that, because what I have learned is that when you've dealt with trauma, it doesn't always have to be violent. People think that it doesn't always have to be violent, but when you've dealt with trauma, you have dealt with a sense of security that has been erased, taken, disrupted from you. So there's an instability of security and safety. And so working with those women, I help them understand that. And then also with the emotions that are now up and down, because it's like, how am I supposed to trust people? How am I supposed to trust myself? All of that. So that's what it looks like when you work with me. There's ways to work with me one-on-one. Most people come to me and they work with me in a group, because I always let them know that community is very important. Usually when we go through trauma, it's by ourselves. So we already know what that looks like. But I never pressure anyone to work with me as one-on-one. Some people come in as one-on-one because they feel most comfortable there, because they feel vulnerable. But when I empower them and let them know, it's like, you're not by yourself. They usually come over into the group, because like I said, community is very important. Having that support when you feel like you probably never had it before is key to your healing. So I show them that as well. So those are some of the ways to work with me. Yeah, I think I answered your question.
You did, and I actually have a question for you. So going back to your experience, which I applaud you for taking up the mantle, but it was already going to be you anyway. But I applaud you for the yes that you gave God in taking up that mantle. I wanted to ask you, if I may, were you the only victim of assault in your family from him?
Oh, well, in the beginning, I thought I was, but to answer your question, no. So my sister, I'm the youngest of in the family. So I have a sister that's 12 years older than me. Okay. And when I came out to write the book, one of the first books that I wrote, she's like, "I'm so proud of you." And then she says, "Daddy touched me too." And I was like, "What?" And then my sister that is, okay, so my mom was married before. And so her first husband, she had 2 children, a son and a daughter. And so the daughter of that first marriage, she told me that my dad tried, I think he was trying to groom her. I don't think he actually did, but she told me he was grooming her for him to be very inappropriate with her as well. So that was that sister. So he was trying to do that to her, but for sure, my sister that's 12 years older than me, he definitely did something to her. So I found out later that no, I wasn't the only person.
Did your mother ever find out?
I don't know if my mom found out about my sister that's 12 years older than me, but I know my mom knew about my sister that is not my dad's, because they sent her away. And now we all know that was probably the reason that she was sent away.
Was
and
he
definitely
ever?
my mom. I'm sorry?
What? No, please finish that, what you were saying.
No, I was saying definitely my mom knows about me, because my mom was a participant in my dad violating me. So she knew about me. I don't think she knew about the others though.
Okay, you just shifted my question then. You shifted my completely. And I'll come back to it in a moment, because I'll remember it. You said your mother was a participant in the, clarify that for me.
So my mom, the story of my childhood is sexual abuse and domestic violence. I repeat that simply because my mom, yes, she was a participant, because every time my dad was to violate me, she was either washing my body, making me clean, and presenting me to my father, or he had already violated me and she was taking me to clean me up. And people every time I tell that story, or part of that story, they lose it because they're like, how is it that your mom was part of that? And so the reason why I share the domestic violence part is because I feel like my mom now as an adult felt like she had no choice because my dad tried to take her life like several times, even before I was born. And so like when we came along, my brother and I were 4 years apart. When we came along, it got less and less, but he was still very violent to her. So I feel like she probably thought he would kill her, and then like where are my children going to be, or
Yeah.
so I really felt like she had no choice. So.
That's what, when you began to roll that out and explain it, that those are the thoughts that were coming to mind. Like there had to be a reason, like you said, with abuse, there had to be like a cause. That's not normal behavior, unless there's oftentimes a fear, a dread, or I myself being now my situation is there is no comparison, and of course we know that we can't do that. There is no comparison with situations at all. But for me, the reason I started Pain and Glory is because I'm a domestic violence survivor, and the reason for years I never said anything was not because of him, not because, and a lot of people, and my story is not like other people. I wasn't afraid of what necessarily he would do to me, although he had made innumerable threats. My fear was what my family would do to him. And I thought that I was guarding my family, specific members of my family, because what if they go to jail? What if, so, and then the embarrassment and the shame of, it's me. How did I not see this? I didn't grow up around this. So, that fear, I definitely hear that. I may not be able to quite understand it because that's not for me to understand, right? That's not my story, but I get it, if that makes sense. I don't fully understand it, but I get it. So getting back to the question I was about to ask, because Lynn, you took me down the road. I'm going back. Did your father get arrested, or was he charged, or was there any punishment? Okay.
Never. There was never any punishment, being arrested, any of that. And going back to your question, your mention of the church, how it's not talked about. And I think this is valid to bring this up at this time. The church knew my father was very aggressive to my mom. And so it was always pray, pray, pray. God changes things. God changes things. Just pray about it. Just pray about it. Just pray about it. And I know that God does change things. I understand. Like he has been most amazing in my life. But my mom didn't need to hear that. She needed help. And no one wanted to talk about it. And it was like, oh yeah. And they would just send her back home, or like, and so that's the thing. Did they know about me? I don't think they did. But it was just like, all right, we know about this situation. We're just all gonna pray that so that's awful. But I think with the question of that, so I think that's why he never got in trouble, is because no one wanted to talk about it, because no one really wanted to talk about what was going on with my mom. And so it was just like, well, we're just going to be quiet, because my mom was told from my grandma to pray about it, from everyone to pray about it. So of course this wasn't going to come out, because, oh my God, no, we still need to pray about it. And so, yeah, nothing ever happened to him legally with this situation.
And what you said is so key, and it's still happening. And not that you're old, but what I'm saying is it's happening modern day. And what I mean by that is just pray about it. And then people will say, well, I'm praying for you. That's nice to say, but people aren't, because if really for real you're praying for me, some discernment might kick in at some point, and then you would want to take or something, if you believe, if my faith isn't there yet, and I'm weakened in my faith because of all that I'm going through, but if you're actually praying for me, as you say, something will take place. Something will change. But unfortunately, it's easier for me to say, I'm praying for you and walk away from you.
And walk away, right.
And walk away and not deal with it than to deal with it. I told someone, I've heard this. I've heard this statement and I've told someone something. So here's a statement I've heard multiple times. You probably have heard it too. Well, I don't want to say anything because what if I'm wrong? And then they don't speak to me anymore in relation to domestic abuse, right? So suspecting that there's domestic abuse. My response was, I'd rather be wrong and potentially lose a friend than be right and be walking in front of her children on the front of a row.
Exactly.
I'd rather her be mad and not talk to me because I'm wrong than to be and not say anything and have to walk past a box.
Yeah, agreed.
So with your father, with your, are they both still together?
No, my dad passed away 3 years ago.
Yeah, were they still when he passed away?
No, my mom had left him maybe 2 years before he passed away. So yeah, wow. So my mom, okay, my sister is now 62. And if my dad was still here, they would have been married 62 years. But at year 55, my mom left my dad.
Understood. Understood.
Yeah. Now she tried several years, before I was born, she tried to leave. There have been multiple attempts that my mom tried to leave. And even when my brother and I came along, she tried to leave then. So she had multiple attempts. And then I guess the year, the 55th year of being married to him, she was like, wow. I had enough. Yeah.
55 years, longer than I've been alive. Wow. So I'm taking a guess. Your mother's in her late 70s?
Absolutely not. My mom is 85 years old.
Oh, wow. That's beautiful. That's beautiful that she's 85. That is, my mother just turned 83. That is beautiful. Does she live near you?
She lives not too far. We're like 30 minutes away. Mm-hmm.
Nice. Because you're Central Time. You're what city you're in?
I'm in Mansfield, like Arlington, Mansfield, Fort Worth area.
Texas. Gotcha. Mm-hmm. Nice. So your siblings, because you mentioned, Lynn, you mentioned a book. So in this book, you mentioned that you told your story. Were your siblings prepared? Did you have a talk with them before the book was released?
I did. So the only person that knew what I was going to write about was my sister, the one that's 12 years older than me. Everyone else, they didn't know. Like, they didn't know that even happened to me. And so I revealed it to my other sister about 7 years ago. I revealed it to her. Okay. But my brothers did not know. And so when it was time for me to gain the voice that I knew I had and I wanted to use it, I talked to everyone. And I talked to my brothers and they were like, what? Oh yeah, you better write that. Like, everybody gave me a blessing. Everybody was like, I had no idea, but you better write that. And I said, well, when I write, like, the family is gonna, like, if you want to use the word exposed, like, the family is gonna be exposed. And they were like, I don't care. You write it. And I was like, oh. And then when I talked to my brothers, like, they wow. So yeah, God is so amazing because I know one of my brothers would have went to jail, if not all of them. And so, yeah, they didn't know. And when I told them I was going to write it, they were like, I had no idea that happened to you. But if I knew, I was like, I know. And if I knew, like, especially my brother that's 4 years older than me, he was my protector the whole time. And I felt very safe around him. And so he was angry, not at me, but at my dad in the situation. And he was, now, I said, I know. But so everybody was very supportive. Every single person in my life was very supportive when I wrote the book.
thing. Oh my gosh. Okay, so you mentioned brothers and sisters. How many brothers and how many sisters?
So in total, there were 4 girls and 3 boys. So my mom had 7 in total.
Nice. And the support, because I've heard stories of people who have told their truth and it was not well received, because the word you used was perfect, exposed, and it's not necessarily that the in my opinion that the family was afraid of the exposure. It was the embarrassment of, wow,
Mm-hmm.
you this really happened.
Yeah, it did.
It did. And so, oh my gosh, Lynn, you give me so much. There was another question that I had right on the tip of my tongue of something you just said. um oh, I know what it was. When you really, okay, so you this book came out, you said 7 years ago.
No. I told my sister 7 years ago. So I
Okay.
wrote it, and then it was published and copywritten 2019, I think.
Okay, so
2018. I think 2018. Yeah,
then that
one of those.
question, as I know the answer to what I was about to say. So how did your husband respond
Oh, so I to the book, or to me just letting him know I was sexually abused?
to you letting him know you were sick? Well, both, really,
Okay,
both.
because I just want to get clarity. Well, first with the book, he was extremely proud of me. Extremely proud of me. He was just like, you have no idea how strong you are. Like, he looked at me. It seemed like my husband had fallen in love with me all over again. And he did, because he told me that. But the way he looked at me, he was like, I'm so proud of you. Like, you are being so brave and so courageous. I was like, thank you. Thank you. So that was good. I love him. Like, my husband, I pray for him. So anyway, um, when I actually told my husband I had been violated by my dad, um, he said, well, it kind of makes sense, like how you don't how you interact with me, because I was having problems with my husband loving me and like deserving the love that he was giving me. Like, I was having problems with that, simply because I wasn't taught to receive love like that. Like, my mom and my dad didn't support me. They
Yeah, yeah,
didn't help me. Like, they didn't love me the way and nurture me the way I needed. And so when this beautiful man came along, I was like, oh, this is fake. And
right.
so, yeah, and so that made sense to him. And we still talk about it to this day, like how he supports me. And so, yeah, he's an amazing man. Like, I love talking about him. So
You
yeah, he
des-
was good.
you you deserve him.
I
Like,
do. I
I
do.
think that one of the most powerful things that we as women can, who do have great men in our lives, to understand we deserve them. We
Yeah.
deserve, because my husband is nothing like what I experienced in my past. Nothing
Hmm.
what I experienced
Yeah.
in my, and
Yeah. Of
so yeah, God knows. God knows.
course he
So,
knew.
Lynn, tell okay, so tell us the names of your books, how we can get our hands on them, and how people can connect with you.
Okay. So the title of the book is No More. And then the subtitle is When Being a Victim of Sexual Abuse is No Longer an Option. So that's the first book. And then I turned around and I wrote an interactive journal to the book. So the journal is titled the very same thing. And then the third book I wrote is called No More Excuses, Let's Heal for Real. And that's a workbook. And so I created that simply because of what we said in the very beginning. Some people don't want to go to counseling. They want to start a healing journey. They may be on a healing journey, like whatever level it is of healing.
Mm-hmm.
So it makes you think. It makes you think of the questions that you've been avoiding. It makes you think of things that I don't want to discuss. And those are hard things to do, but it really gets to the root of like where you want to be, where you want to go, how you see your healing journey, what it looks like for you, what you
Right.
desire for yourself. So it's that. So it's the first book, and then the second is the interactive journal, and then the third is a workbook. And you can find all of those on Amazon. Just type in No More, Lynn Meyer, and then all three pull up.
I love it. Oh my gosh. And that's Lynn for those who are getting it in.
Correct.
Ly
Thank you.
is Meyer. No S on the end.
No S
MEY.
on the end.
That's right. And so how can people find you on social media or however you want them to find you? Your
Yeah,
website?
so all the platforms, Instagram and TikTok, I am the HRT Coach, and I will explain that just for a minute. The HRT Coach,
Uh-huh.
Instagram and TikTok. Facebook, I'm Lynn Meyer on there. And HRT stands for Healing, Restoration, Transformation. And that came to me, God gave that to me as well, because in my situation of being abused by my father, I never thought I would be able to be healed.
Wow.
That was one thing I just knew I was gonna forever be damaged, wounded, broken. Again, those choose your word. I always thought I would be that. And then I never knew he could restore me into this, a person again, a person of life, of love, all of that. I didn't know that that could be restored. And I definitely did not know he was going to transfer me into who I am today. Like, I am so bold and I'm proud of that. Like, I'm so bold. My voice is so loud. It is so passionate. I'm so courageous. I'm funny. I'm, like I'm all these things that I never thought I was going to be. And so I'm just so thankful for that. And I use my voice. I don't even know if you're going to ask me to say this, but I use my voice for people, women for sure. But as you said, this happens to men as well. I use my voice because I know others don't think they can.
Yes.
They
Yes.
feel like their voices have been stolen, have been destroyed, have been diminished, whatever it is or whatever it feels like let me be your voice.
Yes.
I will speak for you. I was silent for 27 years and God said, you need to speak and you need to speak now. And so that's why what I do, because I know there's people out there that don't think that they can tell a story or tell what happened to them or even share. And so they are afraid, they're nervous, they're like, they think they're going to be judged. So then let me be your voice.
Lynn, I'm telling you, you've shared so much that is so helpful because you nailed it on the head. There are people walking around who they're talking, but they have no voice. They're communicating, but they have no voice. It's as if they have emotional laryngitis. And so you being that voice until those emotional cords can loosen enough for them to be able to stand and speak on their own. That's such a powerful thing. And you have been graced with that. God has given that to you. He has put the proverbial bullhorn in your mouth so that you can speak for them until they're able to. And then you pass on, that strength to them. And because you've got plenty stored up to share. These are the tools that you need to get your voice. These are the tools that you need to speak. But until you're able to know how to use this wrench, how to use this hammer, how to use this, I'm going to be your voice for you. I think that's powerful. I think
And
that's
also the guide, because again, this was an assignment that I didn't think I was going to be able to do. I was just like, you want me to go around, you want me to help heal these women? Like, who am I? And I kept looking at me, and God was like, don't look at you. You have limits. I do not have limits.
not
Listen to what I just said. You need to go and you need to do this. Trust the promise. Like, forget about you. Please remove yourself. And when he told me that, I was like, okay, I'm gonna remove myself. And this is another thing God shared with me. And I was like, I can never say this. Again, remove yourself.
right,
You
right.
are a vessel. You are a vessel. These women need healing. Remove yourself. And so he told me, he says, you will be the Harriet Tubman of sexual abuse. And I was like, what? Do
Ooh,
you know who she
come
is?
on, come
And
on.
then, again, I kept going back and forth. I was like, God said, remove myself. He said, remove myself. He said, remove myself. And probably the last time I said that, I was like, you're absolutely right. And who was Harriet Tubman? She was a slave that freed herself. And what did she do? She went back and she got others that
Others.
wanted to be free. Okay.
Exactly.
Now she did encounter people that were slaves. They didn't realize they were slaves, or they didn't understand that they could be free from that, and they stayed. And that's how I feel in this healing journey. Like, I'm going to come back. I'm going to get you. I know where to go. God has shown me how to free myself. Now I got to come back and get you, simply for those that want to go. Now, what does she do? She went back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Hey, you want to come this time? You don't? Okay. I'm taking the ones that want to go. And that's how I feel on this journey. And so I was like, Lord, I received that. I will be the Harriet Tubman of sexual abuse. Yes, I will.
Yes, you
Because
will.
I know the way to go. Yeah. And I'm going to come back and I'm going to come get you.
And then, like you said, the ones who didn't know in slavery and in this situation here, those who don't even know, because for me, I didn't identify myself. Out of ignorance, I didn't identify myself as being a person who was a sexual abuse victim. Right. I didn't identify myself because I didn't have any scars, visible wounds. But oh my gosh, I was, but I didn't know. But I'm thankful that there was a time in my life where I didn't have a Lynn Meyer, and I wish I had, but you know what? Everything works out the way it's supposed to work out. But I came to the realization, you know what? Looks like a duck, quacks like a duck. I might be a duck. I might indeed be a duck, but I don't have to stay here. I can be a swan if I want to. So, right. And I'm telling you, I appreciate you for being that journey woman who is doing the work. So if you could, Lynn, what would you share with the person, because like you said, man or woman, that is watching right now? What would you in closing, what would you want to leave us with?
So much. But I feel like the main thing is to let you know, no matter what you're going through, no matter what event has happened, no matter what experience that you have been through, trauma, it doesn't matter. Healing, restoration, and transformation are all possible from whatever situation, incident. It doesn't matter what it is. You can heal from that. You can be restored, and God can transform you to be the most beautiful person, voice, whatever. They are all possible for you.
Amen. Listen, Lynn Meyer, I'm so elated that you were here with us on tonight. I'm telling you, this is the best way to reboot Pain in the Pews Mental Health and Ministry. Well, not reboot, but bring us back. I am telling you, this is awesome. Listen, as she said, she gave you all ways to connect with her. I'm telling you, be sure, and it's right here. You'll find it here. Here you'll find the link right here in the broadcast, so you'll be able to connect with her. I am elated beyond words because there's so much that was said tonight that is going to help heal, restore, and someone out there feels like they don't have a voice. You know someone who feels like they don't have a voice. And I'm sharing with you here the Harriet Tubman of trauma. I'm telling you, and not no of relief and release from trauma, because she's showing you the way out from it. And so, Lynn, thank you. Thank you so much. Guys, listen, be with us in 2 weeks. May the 2nd, we'll be right back here with our special guest, Reverend Margaret Conley. She's going to be talking about content matters. What we've been saying is may or may not be biblically correct when we're talking about mental health and when we're talking about the total person, mind, body, and spirit. Content matters. And so we will be with her in 2 weeks, May the 2nd. You don't want to miss it, because what we may be regurgitating as far as pertains to things that we continue to say because it's something we've always heard, as opposed to the revelation that we have about it, that God gave us, 2 different things. So tune in next week and we'll get into a great discussion with Reverend Conley. So again, Lynn, thank you for being a part of this. And listen, we will see you in 2 weeks. We'll see you soon.